Joining us now is Ron Higdon. He is the assistant director of the NSAA in charge of wrestling, a bunch of other stuff too.
Yeah.
But
The ambassador.
wrestling is what we're focused on today. Ron, how are you this morning?
Good morning, fellas. I'm doing well, thank you.
Ron, good morning, man. It feels like we've been doing this for a while now. I had to chuckle just watching the girls state tournament. It wasn't too long ago. You and I were talking about boys wrestling girls and opting out of matches, and it hadn't gone to vote yet for a sanctioned sport at the high school level. And a few years later, I'll call it a few. I'm sure some of your grays are due to the duration, but you're selling 16K in tickets. They've got their own night, and it is a fantastic event. You taking some time yet to just take it in?
I slept pretty hard last night, guys.
Well, you had all the grins going. It's like I'm like, could this guy rub more shoulders? It must be rough being well liked. At some point, you'll have to tell me what that's like.
Yeah, it was an event, fellas. I mean, really pleased with the outcome. Exceeded expectations. I wasn't sure what the crowd would be like. Everybody at the beginning was like, that facility's way too big for the girls to have a standalone tournament, and I think that we proved them wrong. And the fans that came and the excitement that we had was off the charts.
Ron, so I know obviously the girls had an incredible turnout for their tournament. We expect another incredible turnout for the boys tournament this weekend as well. I know a lot of times as somebody that works for the NSAA, you guys go to a lot of different workshops and conferences around the country. Have you gotten a sense for, I guess, how unusual the enthusiasm is for the state wrestling tournaments here in Nebraska? Like how much of it feels like a huge outlier based on just other places I've seen online, but like, have you gotten a sense for how special this tournament is to Nebraska?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talk several times over the last several years about, like, what's it like for you? Here's what you do. And then when I tell them what kind of viewership we have, and then they see people that they know that go to our tournament and then go to theirs, and they're like, wow, you guys need to step it up. It kind of makes me feel proud that in Nebraska, we're in the middle of, Big Ten wrestling country, that we can do that for a state the size of Nebraska, and to have the kind of following that we have. It is special, and it is unusual. I mean, I honestly, per capita, I would venture to say we might be number one,
Yeah.
as far as our population base is compared to our viewership and fans coming. So I stick my chest out about that,
Yeah.
not because of me, but because of our state and everything that goes with it, and the kids that get to experience a happening of a lifetime for them, something that they'll talk about for the rest of their life. That's what makes me the most proud, and really strives. That's the internal burn for me to keep getting better.
Yeah. So okay. So that's interesting because just knowing you for as long as I have, in wrestlers in general, there's this protocol, there's procedure, there's a way to do things. And one of the cool things I think that's in watching you is your willingness to evolve and adapt. It's not really a wrestling thing by
Yeah.
like mental makeup, but it's cool because you've had to. It's almost like growing your portfolio, right? You want to be all things and still keep the integrity of the sport. That blend has had to be difficult, but it looks like it's been almost mastered.
Oh, it is. You know what? It's an intentional. You have to make yourself do it, because
Mm.
honestly, the thing that I can't stand the most is when somebody asks why, and they say that's just because that's all the way we've always done it. That's
Oh yeah.
like, so drives me insane. And so I had a fantastic mentor, probably the best that can be out there, and he was like that. Even at his age later on, I was marveled by his like willingness to take a chance. And you know what happens when you're an event coordinator and you implement new things or make a bunch of changes and stuff like that? anxiety comes with it because the more you change, the more things can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really try to be meticulous about, our changes and trying to make it good. And not everything works the way you think it's going to, but for the most part, we've been very fortunate to have a great team and be able to implement some really cool stuff for these kids.
They're happening. It's going to happen in droves today as the boys get started. I'm sure you were excited to know that a boat show is, in very close proximity to you. You're navigating the weather. I reached out a couple of days ago with ticket sales and helping some guys get down to see some of the guys. Is this where you thought this venue would be in 2025 with the demand and like the space that you need and the orchestrating that you have to go through?
Well, I was looking just last week, and I saw some old pictures from, I take pictures every year and look at them. And there was some pictures of these little kids up on the last row. And I remember in 2015, 16, 17, 18, those years, I was giving away hundreds of tickets to kids clubs. You contact me, we'll just give you tickets for the finals, and give you tickets. Now I can't do that because the demand is so high. But I think that lended to, maybe some kids getting to see what happens here. And they're like, I want to be a part of that kind of stuff. And so I'm not saying that that's why we grew, but it makes me feel proud that we were there and we're here now. And so, yeah, it has evolved. And the facility itself is the staff. We deal with a lot of staffs across we have 28 different state championships and the staffs and the venues and stuff. This is the premier venue, the premier staff. It's the gold standard here at CHI. And for us to be able to work with them, they rarely, if ever, say no to me when I have new ideas. They scratch their head sometimes, but they're fantastic to work with, and I can't give them enough props because a lot of the stuff we do comes from them working their butts off for me, me asking for something.
So, Ron, obviously, a lot of your attention has to go to getting the event planned and all the strategic and logistics planned out. How much do you get to pay attention to some of the storylines coming into a state tournament like this, where you've got, the biggest one with Tyson?
Well, how about we gotta go back to last night? I hate to cut you off.
No, go ahead. Yeah,
the mixed emotions as a wrestler, Ron. It's in your blood where you see like lions and the joy there, but then you think, oh my goodness, with Macy, that's a 4-time opportunity. Like, how you got to manage your feelings given your history. Like, is that what not makes this thing so good?
Oh, absolutely. You can put a bracket out, seed it, whatever. They still got to go out there and compete. And that's what. And I think that I know that people underestimate the kind of pressure that Peacher was under because, you see these people that, they act like it's nothing. It's something. And the pressure that's added to just trying to win it, but trying to win it for the 4th time is unbelievable. And for a young lady to have to go through that, and it's tough to watch. It really is. But on the other side, the joy that you see of somebody like Lyons being able to, capture her dream and do what she's always been working for and striving for. It is mixed emotions. You feel for them, but the joy of seeing her do that too, that's what it's about. That's why we do it.
Ron, you're talking about kind of the challenge of staying locked in mentally, and because this is obviously in wrestling, if you lose focus for a half second, like, you can be in deep trouble. But can you talk about how challenging it is physically for a guy like Tyson Terry to win a state championship as a heavyweight as a freshman? Like, I understand this is it. He would be the first one to do 4 in a row. But can you kind of give us a little glimpse into how unbelievable it is to be that good at that weight class as that young of an athlete?
Yeah, it's very difficult. About the middle weights when you get to the 40s and 50s when you're a freshman, to win it any of those upper weights as a freshman is pretty remarkable. And it's a testament to the athleticism and just. I don't know. It's special. I tell you guys, it's special. It does not happen very often. If you look at the Hutmacher, similar, but they're special. They're just special athletes, and they don't come along very often. So that's awesome to be a part of our event as well.
Let me ask you something about, and I want to tie this into officiating and growing with the sport, right? I talk about Ziola all the time, where a guy with that kind of length that, can head snap and still be thinking like ankle pick, like at the same time, where it's just rare to see some of the evolution of what these guys can do athletically, Lauritsen's bend or Terry's agility, where the sport is evolving because the athletes are evolving. How impressed have you been with the officiating? Because it changes too. I get the sense, I was talking to Martinez a couple of weeks ago at a youth event, and he said his eyes had to change with what young kids are capable of doing on the mat that he didn't see just 6, 7, 8 years ago.
He's exactly right. It's more difficult to officiate, particularly because of the scrambling. The scrambling has changed the styles of wrestling for almost everybody. I mean, and if you're not willing to evolve with that, then you're going to be left behind. And I see kids at the youth age that, like, I watch them and I just marvel, because when I wrestled in college, I was like, I never even saw guys do that in college. And these kids are doing some remarkable things. So the officiating part of it is I think it's still fun for them, but it is more challenging because it's not robotic, double leg finish, like it's not. So I think that we have to intentionally talk about it and talk about holding your calls a little bit more because of the scrambling. But they're getting more used to it. Wrestling has evolved so much. I mean, in the last 10 years even, it's evolved even more, and it drifts from the highest levels and comes down. And now all that scrambling and grabbing ankles all the time is in the youth levels, and that never seemed to happen. We were, I don't want to say stuck in the mud, but we were the same for so many years. Yeah. And for it to evolve the way it has in the last 10 to 15 years and you know what it does? It's exciting. It's more exciting to watch because, those scrambles and wrestling on the edge and, the point changes for scoring, all of that has made it more exciting in my mind.
I want to talk about that for a second because, whether it's 4 points for a takedown or out of bounds, just needing a portion. There have been some subtle rule changes, but we saw last night in particular where the point value in takedowns can be monumental too. It is a very traditional sport. How were some of those rule changes received to help with the evolution of the athleticism?
I'm glad you asked that because I'm on the National Rules Committee, and we had the discussion, and college went to, different scoring over the last couple of years. And in the discussions, the people at the NFHS, we don't need a lot of changes. High school wrestling is in a great place. And so I just brought it up. I just said, all right, guys, let's talk about this. What sport scores differently in college than in high school? And we couldn't come up with one. And we're like, no, we don't have to follow them and everything. But in scoring, I think we do because of the casual fan and trying to keep them engaged from one level to the next. I remember when freestyle, the international style, was changing rules every year. And me as a lifelong wrestler, I stopped watching it.
Ooh.
It was different. Yeah. And it was like, every year the scoring was different. And I'm like, I don't even know why this score is what it is. So to be consistent specifically for the casual fan is, I think, important. And then to answer your second part of the question, the feedback has been unbelievable. If you think about it, you have a takedown for 2, escape for 1, it's 2-1. Takedown for 2, escape 4-2. Takedown, escape, it's 6-3 in the first period. Domination. The person who wins the flip, chooses down, they get an escape. It's 6-4. You're one takedown. You've been dominated, and you can still tie the match with one move. So now that scoring is a little bit different. And we talked about if you're going to do something for somebody that's good on their feet and try to give them incentive to score on their feet, you got to do the same for the bottom. And so that's why we changed both of those along with the out of bounds. Guys, it was monumental changes for the sport.
I agree.
The rules committee made the changes this year, which was 3-point takedown, 4-point near fall, and 1 point of contact, all in 1 year. That takes 20 plus years to get, though 3 of them passed, we did it all in 1 year. So it has been, I have heard nothing but positive feedback. Not one single negative comment has come to me since the changes. So I think that they were good moves. The thing now is like, what's the next big change? I think we're in a great place now. I think we are. So I don't know what that next big change is going to be, but this has been fantastic.
I wondered if the 4 overtime with Addie last night would have got you guys to, because there's always, when you see something immediate, the knee-jerk thing is, well, I don't like how that goes in, and then you fill in the blank. In this case, it could be overtime with the 30 seconds and up, down, and then the sudden death. Is that something that has been on the table?
No, we haven't talked about that at all. And it doesn't happen very often. I don't disagree with you. I 100% don't disagree.
Well, that's the first time that I had seen it to go that long. I mean, they had to be gassed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And really, the one who wins the flip, it could be the one who wins the flip.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. I don't know what the answer to that would be, but it happens so rarely that, like, it's not usually a topic of conversation.
Mm-hmm. All right, speaking of flip, how excited are you, or how much have you given thought? How are you going to start on Saturday if seats hold? There's a ton of storylines with where we're going to start in weight classes.
Well, at this point, we have the ability to make some changes. Right now, we haven't determined that we're going to start at any other weight class other than 106.
Okay.
So that's where we're at right now. The masses, when we were making those changes, really, I mean, talk about trying something new, trying to make it the highlight match and whatever, didn't really go over that well. So my hope is that Tyson's matches could be the last ones, and I hope that people are excited enough to stay around and watch it. But we will also be, here's what's happening. Matches are going faster because we're blowing the whistle less.
Yep.
Because of the out of bounds.
You guys blew through
falls.
the first round. I couldn't believe the pace on day one for the ladies. Well, it was 2 hour, 2:40 maybe, and some change.
Yeah, it was really fast. But we've seen that all year long. You're blowing the whistle for out of bounds less. You're getting to technical falls faster, and so all of that lends to efficiency. And really, we've seen it in the regular season, along with the rule that we changed about 3 years ago, going from 45-minute rest to 30-minute rest. That also helps us because we were wrestling, taking a break, wrestling, taking a break, and now you can keep rolling. So all of that has sped up wrestling at the regular season, and we saw it in the girls as well. Our sessions were, we kind of predicted it would be a little bit faster, but it was faster than what we thought.
Fantastic.
That's Ron Higdon, Assistant Director of the NSAA and in charge of wrestling. Ron, best of luck over the next few days. I hope everything goes smooth sailing, just crystal clear waters for you, and that you have a great tournament.
You ever need anything from us, you got one of your biggest advocates right in your hip pocket.
I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you for letting me be on.
You got it.
Absolutely. That's Ron Higdon from the NSAA.